Guys, you know them. You love them. I do this at the beginning of every episode. If you don't know them by now, go fuck yourself. Stutterbox Productions, the backbone to many of the events that we have here in the Midwest. Are you trying to find your next spot? Because these guys, they can help. Hit up their Facebook page, hit up the CEO, and they can direct you any way they can. They have plenty of shows lined up. They have plenty of things going on. What are you waiting for? What's up, ho-ho-hos? How the fuck is everybody doing today? On the eve of Jesus' birthday. One of the days that America recognizes as important to take off of work and really any kind of activity, going to the store. But you know, really like online. These are the days where you really spend a lot of money, right? You make a lot of money, but you also spend a lot of money. You get bonuses and such, but then, you know, it kind of just all gets spent. Spent like the host of this podcast. That's a weird way to segue into the first thing I want to talk about today. So, I haven't, and I apologize. First of all, I want to apologize and say that sorry for the lack of episodes the last few weeks. I think it's been 2 weeks since we've dropped anything. I've just had a hard time getting content together. Kind of needed some time off, and it's been a weird journey lately. There's just a lot going on. We got the movie, we got 3 different podcasts, and it's hard to kind of get the energy to do what we were doing. To do everything 100% like what we were doing probably 6 months ago with this podcast on top of 2 other podcasts and trying to organize this film, which I don't know if it's ever going to get done at this point. No, I'm kidding. We have a script read happening and we're putting different things together. Please donate. We've raised about $85 so far, which is about almost a fifth of our way to our $500 projected goal. So, I please urge everyone to just donate a little bit. We'll put the link below for that in the description. But I guess that segues into the first thing I wanted to talk about today, which is, I have decided ultimately that we will no longer be having new guests on the show. People who have been through, I'm not going to say that like we're never going to have new faces on the podcast. And that we're never going to have guests, and that that's not what I'm saying at all. There are definitely occurrences and people who I've promised episodes to and have in mind to, come in at some point. This isn't the end of it forever. But the show ultimately is going to be taking a step back from the idea of, I think I used to brag a lot. And I think a lot, not a lot, but, other people would, describe this as like the GRE of Iowa, right? Like this show, the McAllister's podcast and everything we do. But that's not something I want. I don't really care for that anymore. I've gotten to a point in life where I do not care about XYZ's argument. Whatever guest. And it's sad and it makes me feel like a dick, right? Because some of these people are people that I'm friends with and who I respect, but you get to a point where you just get muddled in certain discussions and certain topics, and there are people that come in for their own personal gain, and there's just, I've had like 2 people threaten me over the last year, and it was like half-heartedly. It wasn't enough for me to really like freak out or be like, it was kind of more like a warning shot type of thing. Just like some ghetto shit, really. But, excuse me, I guess all these accumulated experiences have just made me withdraw from the idea of wanting to have people on. To like being like, okay, I'm just gonna be the open platform to have anyone on, because that's kind of the problem, right? Is like when you go the open platform route, like as great as that is to do, you are kind of leaving room for someone to kind of weasel their way in and not really have regard for you or you as a person, and, you know, can like use your platform and then months later just easily lash out in one little thing. I get that that's kind of just, that's also just life and people, right? But, you know, I think when the podcast really started 3.5, 4 years ago, it was more, I wanted it to be more of that. Like the goal really was like, okay, let's find guests. Let's have the podcast be about guests. And then I realized it got to a point where people would be like, oh, this is a free podcast. Like, this is just like a free way for me to promote myself, which I'm fine with to an extent. But when it gets abused and when people just don't want to use it properly, when they don't want to give me respect, or like if they even interrupt in middle conversations, and like me, and you know, that's also a lack of skill on my part, right? Like I probably should be better. Like I could be better at like handling that situation and being like, okay, you know, that fucking cat, interjecting it like interjecting when it's appropriate, etc. There are things I could improve on with that as well. But it's a complex thing. The whole idea of having guests and repeatedly doing that, it adds an entire stressor on my schedule where I'm like, okay, I have to, whatever. I'm not trying to get bogged into the details of this. My point is that the format of this show is changing. What we're going to be doing is going to be me doing this, talking. I'm at the point now with the show and in my life with this, that if this is the thing that tanks it, that brings it down, then so be it. But you know, I kind of have a feeling that it's going to be the opposite. I really do kind of think that. Like I find there are a lot of times actually where the episodes that we do solo, depending on the topic we pick, tend to do a lot better than some of the guest episodes. I mean, especially because, you know, we have people that are just have come through so many times, and it's the same person every time. It's the same episode every time. Like this is like Joe Rogan kind of has this problem. You know, I've kind of felt myself going away from Joe Rogan more and more and more because it is kind of formulaic in a way. And like I've always known this, I guess, but you enjoy the formula at one point, and then at another point you're kind of like, okay, I don't know. I guess everyone's kind of doing that, but they're kind of also putting their twist on it, or still keeping it their own. I just feel like for what we're doing with Uncensored, Guts and Gore podcasts, what we're doing with those, it just correlates and makes more sense to just do our own thing, to just keep doing our own thing. So that's what we're doing here at the show. And we're announcing this on Jesus' birthday because I doubt anybody will even listen to this because it's dropping on the night of Christmas Day. Nobody's going to give a fuck. The true fans will. I hope the true fans, I hope when it's Tuesday morning, the next day, they listen to this, they're like, oh, it's Christmas, I don't give a shit. But maybe Coleman will spend the whole time talking about how much he hates Jesus. No, I'm kidding. I do like to put the Passion of the Christ on replay though, around the holidays. I you know, a lot of people around this time, they like to think of the birth of Christ. I like to think of the death. I like to think I'm a tragic, dramatic person. I'm a real Scrooge. So I really like to just kind of amp that ante up. Just remind people like, hey, wait like 4 or 5 months. It doesn't end well for him. I don't know how much of the story you followed. It doesn't get good. I mean, eventually it's all right, you know, but like there's a day or two where he really got it, man. He really good old Jesus. Jesus time. You gotta love it. You gotta love Jesus time, right? And, you know, there's something about Jesus time that, it's kind of funny how much of this is actually present in the Bible. Alcohol. Jesus turning water into wine. How it's used as a, at least in the Catholic Church, it's used as a religious aspect, Eucharist, etc. So I don't know. It's interesting that even the people who like are proponently Christian, which is the majority of the U.S., indulge in this. It's just kind of funny how that drug is always kind of accepted in that culture, and it's by far, in my opinion, the worst drug. And here's another reason why we're doing it so long. No, I'm kidding. I would argue alcohol is more dangerous than a drug like, say, heroin or cocaine, possibly even fentanyl. There are people who say opposing things of fentanyl, and I personally have not done the research, but from what I understand, I don't know. That was quite a statement. From what I understand, I actually don't know, despite what I'm doing. This mug, by the way, shout out Molly. The mug says, This is an early Christmas present from Molly, the assistant / slave of the podcast. Libertarians diligently plotting to take over the world and leave you alone, which I laughed my ass off when I read that. I don't think that's definitely the best mug I've ever gotten. I love the fact that I actually have something to be like, yeah, I'm a libertarian. I have this funny ass mug. It's totally me. But anyways, continuing on to the subject. Staying sober-ish. I say ish because you know why. I don't have to say it. I don't have to say it. And that's kind of another thing, right? When people congratulate me, I'm sorry. I love everyone. Okay, I'm not mad. I don't think you're a bad person, but I know it's in everybody's programming. When somebody says, I don't drink, I've made a choice to not consume alcohol. People will immediately jump to, oh, congratulations. Like, I don't know. It's frustrating, these social structures that are in place where just something like that, there's certain things that are just so easily accepted and so easily embraced or whatever. Like, let me put it this way. I think like someone who is an alcoholic, like they are always going to be the front in line when it comes to the sympathy vote, right? As opposed to someone who uses heroin, or like someone who's even like a sex addict or something of that nature, a gambling addict. Like, these things are always going to fall in line, like behind in terms of like what is acknowledged in society and what's congratulated about, right? Like, I don't know. Because I've talked about it on the show, right? My struggle with porn sex. And I kind of hate talking about this a lot. I feel like it probably turns a lot of people off. There are probably a lot of people who don't agree with it. And I'm sorry. If you don't like that, tune into the other podcasts. Those don't talk about them. I'm sorry that I bring my personal shit into it, but that's what the podcast is. But it's something like that, right? Like, if I was at a family gathering, nobody in that group would say, hey, Coleman, congratulations on not beating your meat for over a year. No, like, nobody would do that. And then, I decided to quit drinking, not because I was like in an alley with a bottle or like, spending insane amounts of money in alcohol. I wasn't at that place. I've been there before. Like, don't get me wrong, but like at the time I wasn't really there. And I just decided, I was like, I looked at the behavior of people who drink, and I said, I don't want to be that. I feel like most of the time I drink, it's pressure from other people. It's a social peer pressure. I was at that point, I wasn't really drinking a whole lot at home by myself. So it's just something I decided to cut out, and I found myself feeling better, and I decided to just cut it out completely, permanently. And that's where I'm at right now. That might change it someday. I don't know. It's possible. But like for the foreseeable future, I don't see any reason to go back. So like when people congratulate me, I don't really give a shit. Okay, thanks. And it makes me sound like a dick because you have to appreciate it to some degree, right? But I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird water to tread. And I guess ultimately the reason why I'm talking about this is holiday season. You know, I've experienced my own relapses the last couple weeks, the last couple months. And it's really easy to do around these times because it's cold. It's like you're kind of like forced to get together with people, and there's dramas and all this other shit. People are just like in general depressed. I don't know. Like end of the years, it's reflective. There's a lot that goes into it. And I wish like people that really enjoy the holidays, which is fine if you enjoy that, but like I kind of wish people would be more cognizant of that. Maybe not like, and I'm not saying it's like awful everywhere, but there are people that kind of just assume that it's like going to be great for everybody. It's not. I think it's important to like kind of talk about that a little bit in the public eye. I don't know. This is kind of a downer of an episode for Jesus. Kind of a downer Jesus episode. I don't know. Maybe I'm tanking the episode doing this kind of crap. Just soloing, but here we are. It's not gonna be like this forever. I think we will at some point get to a point where we can have like in-house guests, etc. Maybe have like a roundtable type of thing. That could happen in theory, but we'll just gotta see. We gotta see. It's hard to pick people. It's really hard to pick people because I think everybody has an opinion. I think like with Lolo, people like Lolo and people like Molly, you know, Molly's my partner. So obviously there's a lot of flow there that emulates just kind of our normal life. And then, you know, me and Lolo, we're good friends. So, and he's always been a great guest. He always has a lot to say, if not too much. And, you know, he's my brother. I love him. And it's a good time. It's a good time when we get on the mic. So, but like, I don't think there's anybody else really that I can think of that I'd be like 100% down to do a podcast with. Everyone, there's always a little something in my peripheral that's like, I don't know, this might come up. This might be a problem. Like, you gotta be with people who 100% fuck with you. No matter what you say. Like, if I say the most awful shit or do the most awful shit, they're going to be like, what the fuck? But they're not, you know, they're not going to be like, I hate you forever. Goodbye. I'm walking away from this. It could always happen. You never know. You never know, people. You never know. But yeah, so I guess that's my final thought with that. If you're trying not to drink or like smoke or whatever, if you're just trying to be cold sober, and you know, if you're like Coleman, fuck off. Have a good time if you want to get fucked up. I miss it, man. Like you know, like there were times where I was with people over the holidays and we got shit faced, got absolutely sloshed, just on whatever, like edibles like mixed with dabs. And like we're all like, people are puking, and like all this crazy shit. Yeah, man. I remember Christmas growing up was weird. It was always it was very Catholic. It was very Catholic, right? So it was a super religious thing. It wasn't like, I mean, it definitely, I'm not going to say it's like it was 100% law. You know what I mean? Like but that factor was highly incorporated in it. You know, we had times where we would have prayers around the tree and bless the tree. We would bless the Advent wreath, and that was a big thing, right? The Advent wreath, I think, you know, the whole that we had, what was it? There's a proper name for it. The Christmas thing where they go out through the days, the calendar or whatever. We had one of those, but it was, I don't know. I think it was me and Molly were talking about like how like every time she got one, there was like some kind of treat or candy in it. I was just like, not the Catholics, bro. You don't get shit. You don't get shit for Christmas. Oh my God, the church services. I remember going the masses, the midnight masses. Oh my God, that shit was a nightmare. Sin through a fucking service. I refuse to do that shit. I'm done. I'm done with like sin through church. Sin through church in the holidays. I'm over it. I've always been over it. This time of year is bad enough that on a certain day, people are just like, hey, come sit in a fucking a wooden pew that we're gonna intentionally make uncomfortable. At best, you have the folding chairs with like the cushion. But even that, it's kind of constricting. And like 45 minutes, 60 minutes in, you're really like, whoo. There's gotta be some real cushion on that. But like, fuck. When I was growing up, we didn't have cushions. We had the fucking, there was cushions on the kneelers. Sometimes at some churches, they didn't have the kneelers. It was just wood. They were like, fucking deal with it. You got arthritis? Fucking deal with it, man. If you sit in that Catholic church, people look at you. They're like, we don't fuck. It's like the mob of fucking Christianity, the Catholic Church. Like, we don't fuck around. We got some notorious shit happening. Some notorious shit happening in the background. You don't want to fuck with us. We're Italian, brother. We're Italian and Irish. Fucking blood-driven motherfucker. Like, like all those fucking movies from like the 70s and 80s. Like everybody in New York is like Irish, Italian, and Catholic, you know, or black. Like the ones that stand out are black. They're like, oh, one of these. There's one of these here. But yeah, I don't know. Christmas is weird, man. I remember me and my siblings, my sisters, me and the oldest sister. I won't say her name for the sake of, I don't know, whatever. But we were starting to figure out that Santa wasn't real, right? We were talking amongst ourselves. We're like, hey, it's because it doesn't add up at a certain point, right? You stay up all night, you listen, you're like, there isn't really, and you would think you would wake up, right? If someone just down the chimney. And then you wait, and you're kind of like, but you know, mom and dad stay up a little later. Wait, is dad eating the cookie? And while they're putting the gifts under the tree, that they're forging Santa Claus's name on the gifts. I mean, you know, this is an atrocity, right? So and I was probably like, you know, 11, 12 at the time. Like I was probably at a point where maybe not even that old. I don't know. It was at a point where it shouldn't have been a thing, right? And so we were like talking about this in the car. My mother said, she was like, I got a text message or a phone call. I don't remember which one, from Santa. And he said that if you don't talk about that, you're going to get cold in your stockings this year or something like that, or no presents or something. Like, I don't know. It was always the most extreme, right? So we were like, okay, we shut the fuck up. And then after Christmas, they told us, and they're like, you just got to play along with it. We're sorry. And I remember, like, that really fucked me up. Like, it probably fucked me up more than it should have. The idea that they lied about Santa. Like, I don't know why that bothered me so much. It shouldn't have bothered me as much. You know what I mean? I don't know. Christmas is weird, man. Holidays are weird. You know, I hope everybody stays alive. I mean that jokingly and for real, though. It's hard. It's tough. I don't know. A lot, you know, that's another thing, right? That's why a lot of people don't get along the holidays. Okay. That's really all I got. Oh, I wanted to talk about my ex. That's right. Okay. So, last winter break story, or like Christmas time story. So we went on this trip in Mount Rushmore part of, or like the Rapid City area. And we stayed in the cabin out there in the mountains, and like, you know, there was a considerable amount of snow. So like I'm driving like this 2012 Corolla, right? Like this just shitty fucking wheels aren't right and all that. And we had, I don't know if we needed to go get cigarettes or something like that, something stupid, beer or something like that. And we were just like, I don't know. We were all packed in this cabin. We were on this, it was like days long trip. We were starting to get stressed out from each other a little bit. And I was outside with my former brother-in-law, and we were trying to start, like, dig up snow and like push the car out of the parking lot so we could go. And we finally get that. And then like coming back in the house, Mike, the boyfriend, and the mom is like mopping up or like mimosa with his towel. And this, I know they're alcoholics, right? Fucking starting the day out with mimosas. I'm sorry. I've been there. Like, I'm a big believer if like you start your morning off with alcohol, like that's a red flag. But no, I walked in and I nobody was saying anything. I didn't know what the fuck. And I went and talked to my ex, and like apparently my ex was fucking pissed. One of the other women pushed her mimosa. My ex took the mimosa and just fucking threw it in her face, like in a fucking movie or something. Like, I didn't see any of this. Like, I don't know how I would have reacted. Maybe she wouldn't have done it if I was in the room. I don't know. But that was just funny. I remember we you know, like I said, we got caked off those like dab edibles, and just got drunk. Just drank a lot. We got like big growl. Like, we went to the local breweries and got huge like 32 to 64 ounce growlers. Spent like hundreds of dollars on alcohol. Just got wasted. I don't know. That's another part where I don't drink, right? I've had so many times in my life where I've already done that. I've already lived. Like, I've already like gone to all the breweries, and I'm sure that there's a whole world that I'm not part of, right? But like the pros just don't outweigh the cons. Like I prefer what I do. You know what I mean? Like how I live. That's my preference. Okay, enough about Jesus's birthday. Let's see. One thing I wanted to start doing was the movie of the week. Just start talking about different movies I watched this week. One we just watched today. It's on Netflix. It just dropped May, December. I don't really like promoting. I used to have like a hard stance against Netflix. I won't use Netflix, but I mean, it was, what was the fucking movie? with the it was about the child performers, the child pageant or whatever. And it's like kids twerking and shit. It's really not good. What the fuck is that movie called? But it was really controversial back in like, I want to say 2020 maybe. Cuties. There we go. That was what the movie's called, Cuties. And they never, I don't even know if they ever took that down. You might still be able to go watch it. Which is fucked up. So, but anyway, so I used to be against Netflix for a long time, and I don't really like that company still. But they do put out some really good content. And I will say this movie does suffer from the usual problems that a lot of Netflix movies do, which is like they just let scenes play out way too long. They have these fucking buffers and story fillers that just seem, needless. Like just these moments that like ultimately don't really add much to the story, right? Maybe they display good acting, and that was another really good thing about this. One really good thing about this film was the acting was solid. Natalie Portman was nothing short of incredible. Like she has every movie that she's in that I've seen. Julianne Moore, who's another favorite female actress of mine. Female actress. She's great. She's a goat. Not a goat. She's great. Okay. I won't say goat. Coleman. The coffee's hitting you. The coffee is hitting you, man. No, but like a really well written script, really interesting content material. Basically, for those who don't know, it's an actress is researching this role of a character who was just based on a real life person. Here, I'm just look this up right now. This is the advantage of doing this. Who this is based on? Mary Kay Letourneau. Letourneau. Yeah, this movie came out earlier this summer. And I don't know, I finally got around to it, and I really, it was well done. It was 2 hours, which I mean, I feel like these days that's just like the average for a film. And I kind of hate that about the time we're in right now of film is like it's either really short or really long. Nobody really goes for that 80-90 minute time marker, I think, and there's a way to pace it and just put the audience in a world, just long enough, right? I think that's the problem is people put you in the world for too long. There's something to the idea of like, okay, we're just going to give you a little bit of this. Then we're going to give you a little bit more later, a little bit more later. I think that's great about like book series, right? This is like a little bit at a time. Instead, like, there's a difference between like Lemony Snicket, series of unfortunate events, and like the Dune series and there's nothing wrong with that, but like I just am personally a fan of it being shorter, cut up. Excuse me, to the point, etc. God damn it, that cough really fucked me up. That really came out of left field too. But yeah, great acting. I've always been a huge fan of Natalie Portman, Dark Swan. What was that other fucking movie she was in that I really liked that she was in? I don't know. Oh, V for Vendetta is classic. That was like probably her first, at least the one that I know of. One of her like first really serious, really edgy roles, like really, because I feel like she's one of those female actresses that's, God, me doing that again. My sexist ass. That's very edgy for an actress, like really willing to put everything out there to like fulfill the character. And in a way, she almost kind of played herself in this movie, which was kind of an interesting angle. I mean, not like she didn't like literally play herself, but it was. I mean, she was an actress in the movie, so two and two together. Anyways, so May, December, I recommend it. I give it 4 out of 5. I think on Letterboxd, and we won't talk. And that's kind of the thing. We don't really talk about regular movies much on the Guts and Gore. So, we're gonna record an episode later for that kind of end of the year type of thing. Oh, and yeah, I'm not really putting out any kind of end of the year content this year. Sorry, there might be people that are disappointed by that. I just don't have the time and desire to get it done in the next 7 days. If the mood strikes, perhaps, but it's really hard for me to want to do that. So that's where I'm at. That's where we're at. That's where we're at in time, people. Okay, 2024 is around the corner. No, we're gonna do that next episode. We're not gonna get into the 2024 rant. That's gonna be next episode. Guys, I apologize again for being gone for as long as I have been. If you like these solo episodes, let me know. If you hate these fucking solo episodes, give this a dislike. Fucking tell me in the comments. Hey, Coleman, shut the fuck up. We want guests again. Tell me. I'll ignore you. We're still not going to have guests for a little bit, but no, we might. But no, I feel like the guest element is more prominent in Lolo and I show, the Unhinged Uncensored podcast, every Tuesday, 2 p.m. And I go check out the Guts and Gore. We're not as consistent on that one. We're not quite on every Thursday. We really try to at least twice a month. We're putting out content on that. Just talking about one of our favorite things, horror movies. One of the things that we like to do any time of year, really. Just watch some fucking gory, weird stuff. It's fun. Okay. All right. I think that's the episode, everybody. Go check out those podcasts and catch you next week. Peace. Have a good one.